Nobody chooses a rest area. You stop because you have to, because you're tired, or you need a bathroom, or you've been driving 4 hours and your hands won't unclench. You're there for 8 minutes, 15 at most, and then you're gone, and you never think about that place again. But some people don't leave. Some people are there every night in the same parking lot, watching 100 strangers stop and stretch and drive away. 3 drivers found that out. This is the dread hour. I drove long haul for 11 years. Regional out of Little Rock mostly, sometimes further. This happened in 2013 on I-40 heading west through Oklahoma. I want to say up front that nothing touched me. Nobody attacked me. If you're waiting for that, it doesn't come. It's just that I've been on the road my whole adult life, and this is the only thing that ever made me quit a shift early. I pulled into a rest area west of Clinton around 2 in the morning. Truck side, not the car side. Separate lot, further back from the building, about 15 rigs parked up for the night. That's normal. That's what a rest area looks like at 2 in the morning. Guys running out of hours, sleeping in their bunks until the clock resets. I parked at the end of a row, killed the engine, and did what I always did. Curtain across the windshield, radio on low, food, then sleep. The CB was on channel 19. That's the trucker channel. Everybody's on it. And at a rest stop at 2 in the morning, it's mostly quiet, with the occasional guy talking to somebody about road conditions or a scale. Around 2:30, somebody keyed up, just breathing. 2-3 seconds of an open mic, and then off. That happens. Guys sit on their mic by accident, or a kid gets hold of a radio somewhere. You ignore it. It happened again about 10 minutes later. Same thing. Open mic, breathing, then off. The third time, he talked. He said,
"Blue Peterbilt, end of the row."
And I sat up, because that was me. Blue Peterbilt, end of the row. I didn't key up. I lay there in my bunk in the dark, and I waited. About a minute later, he came back and he said,
"You awake in there?"
Now, the thing about a CB is that it's short range. 2-3 miles on a good night, but at a rest area, everybody talking is right there. He was in that lot. He was in one of the 14 other trucks parked around me, or in a car, or standing outside with a handheld. I picked up my mic. And I want to be honest, my first instinct was that it was another driver being friendly, or somebody who knew me. I keyed up and I said, "Go ahead." And there was nothing. No answer. I said it again. Nothing. 5 minutes went by. I put the mic down. And that's when he came back on, and he said something that put my feet on the floor. He said,
"Curtains not closed all the way, passenger side."
It wasn't. There was a gap. Maybe 4 inches at the bottom corner where the Velcro hadn't caught. I could see out of it, which meant somebody could see in. I want to describe exactly what I did because I've thought about it a lot. I did not look out. I reached up in the dark and I pulled that curtain closed and I pressed the Velcro down with my thumb, and I did it slowly because I didn't want the movement to be visible from outside. Then I sat in that bunk in total darkness and I listened to the radio. And he talked for about 20 minutes. Not constantly, every couple of minutes, a few words. Never a question after that first one, just observations. He said,
"D4 units running."
which mine was. He said,
"Arkansas, break."
which it was. And then, later, he said,
"There's 4 of you awake in this lot right now."
and that's the one that got me. Because it meant he wasn't talking to me specifically anymore. He was somewhere in that parking lot where he could see 14 trucks at once and tell which ones had somebody moving inside. I started my engine at about 3:15. I did it without the lights on, and I pulled out of that lot and back onto I-40, and I drove the next 4 hours on adrenaline with the CB switched off, which I had never done in 11 years. Here's what stayed with me. I asked around after, talked to other drivers at truck stops, on the radio the way you do. And 2 different guys told me they'd heard the same voice on 19 at rest areas along that stretch. Different nights, different rest areas, but the same pattern. An open mic, a description of your rig, and then observations. Neither of them had ever heard him threaten anybody. Neither of them had ever seen him. One of them said something I still think about. He said the guy never asks you to come out. He just describes you until you can't stand it anymore and you get out to look. I was 23, and I was driving from Bozeman, Montana back to my parents' place in Denver. December 2018. About 11 hours. I had a 2004 Corolla with a battery I knew was going. My dad had told me to replace it before I left. I hadn't because I was 23 and I had $400 to my name. I stopped at a rest area in southern Wyoming around 9 at night. Cold, probably 12 degrees. Wind coming across that high plain the way it does, where it doesn't gust, it just pushes constantly. I used the bathroom, bought a coffee from a machine, sat in my car for 10 minutes to warm up. And then it wouldn't start. That specific click, not even a crank, just the click of a solenoid and then dashboard lights browning out. I tried it maybe 8 times. I knew it was pointless by the 3rd. There were 3 other vehicles in that lot. A semi parked way down at the far end with its lights off, a minivan, and a pickup 2 spaces over for me. The pickup had a man in it. I could see the shape of him through his back window. And I sat there for probably 10 minutes working up to it, because I was 23 and asking strangers for things was hard. Then I got out and I knocked on his window. He rolled it down. 50s, gray beard, glasses, an Elks Lodge sticker on the dash. He looked like about 1,000 men in Wyoming. I said my battery was dead and asked if he had cables. He said,
"Sure do. Pop your hood."
And that was it. He got out, got cables from behind his seat, pulled his truck around to face my car and hooked it up. Told me to wait a couple minutes before trying. We stood there in the cold, not talking much. He asked where I was headed. I said Denver. He said he was going to Casper. Then he said,
"You're the 3rd one tonight."
I said, "What do you mean?" He said,
"3rd car I've jumped tonight. 2 before you. Cold like this. Batteries just quit."
And I said something like, "Wow, lucky I stopped here." And he laughed and said,
Something like that.
My car started on the first try. I thanked him about 6 times. I offered him $20 and he waved it off. He unhooked the cables and coiled them up and put them behind his seat and told me to get the battery looked at in Denver. And then he got in his truck. And he didn't leave. I sat there with my engine running and my heater coming up, and I watched him in my mirror, sitting in his pickup with the lights off, not moving. 2 minutes. 3. And I thought, okay, he's cold, he's finishing a coffee, he's checking his phone. There are 50 normal reasons. But I had this thought that I couldn't get rid of, and the thought was, why was he parked here at 9 at night in December with jumper cables in reach and his engine off? Because his engine had been off. When I knocked on his window, he'd been sitting in a cold truck with the engine off. Nobody sits in a cold truck at 12 degrees with the engine off. Not for any reason. Unless they're waiting for someone else's engine not to start. I pulled out. He didn't follow me. I want to be clear about that. I watched my mirror for 40 miles and he never came. I made it to Denver at 4 in the morning and I told my dad the whole thing over breakfast, and my dad, who is not an imaginative man, got very quiet. And then he asked me one question. He asked whether the man had opened his hood. And I said no. He'd hooked the cables to my battery and then to his, but his hood was already up when he pulled around. My dad said, "He didn't open it while you were watching?" No, it was already open. And my dad said that a man who has jumped 2 cars already that night would have shut his hood in between. 12 degrees, snow in the air, you don't leave your engine exposed. Unless you're not planning to shut it. Unless the hood being up is the reason people ask. I've replayed that conversation 100 times, and here's what I land on. He never did anything to me. He jumped my car. He refused money. He told me to get the battery checked, and I did, and it needed replacing. He might have been exactly what he looked like. A decent man in a cold parking lot who helped 3 strangers in one night. But I think about the other 2, and I think about how he said it. "You're the 3rd one tonight." Like he was counting. This is my mom's story, but she's told it so many times that I know it better than most things that happened to me. In August of 1994, she was 26 years old and driving from Nashville to St. Louis by herself. She just left my father. This is about 6 months before I was born, which is a detail that matters to how she tells it. She stopped at a rest area on I-24 in southern Illinois around 11 at night. Small one. A brick building, a covered picnic area, a vending alcove with 3 machines and a payphone. She wasn't tired. She stopped because she wanted a Coke and because she'd been crying for about an hour and she didn't want to arrive at her sister's house looking the way she looked. The vending alcove was open on one side. No door, just a covered concrete area with the machines against the back wall and a light overhead. She got a Coke. She stood there drinking it and pulling herself together. And a man came and stood at the other end of the alcove. Not close, maybe 15 feet at the payphone. He picked up the receiver and put a coin in and started talking. And my mother, who was standing there alone at 11 at night, did what women do, which is that she paid attention without appearing to. He was maybe 40, tucked-in shirt. Nothing about him was strange. He was talking about a delivery, something about a truck being late and needing to call somebody in the morning. Normal, boring, one-sided phone call. And she relaxed. That's the part she always emphasizes. She relaxed because a man on the phone talking about work is the least frightening thing in the world. She finished her Coke and she put the can in the trash and she walked out toward the parking lot. And when she was about 10 feet outside the alcove, she heard the coin drop. You have to be old enough to know what that means. On a payphone, when your call goes through and you hang up, the coin drops into the box. If nobody answers, if the call never connects, the coin comes back out into the return slot. She heard the coin come back out, which meant that while she was standing there, 15 feet away, listening to a man have a normal conversation about a late truck delivery, there was nobody on the other end of that line. He'd been talking to a dial tone. She did not run. She has always been very clear about this. She walked to her car at a normal speed, got in, locked the door, and started the engine. And when she looked up, he was standing at the mouth of the alcove watching her. Not moving toward her, just standing where the light ended, with his hands at his sides, looking at her car. She drove to her sister's house in St. Louis, and she got there at 2 in the morning, and she didn't tell anybody for 4 years. When she finally did tell my aunt asked her the obvious question, which is, Why do you think he did it? And my mother's answer is the reason I've never forgotten this story. She said he didn't do it to trick her. He did it to make her comfortable. A man standing silently in a vending alcove at 11 at night is a threat. Every woman alive would leave. But a man on the phone talking about a delivery is furniture. He's part of the building. You stop watching him. He wasn't pretending to make a phone call so she'd think he was harmless. He was doing it so she'd stay. My mother is 58 now. She still drives that route twice a year to see my aunt. She has never once stopped at a rest area after dark. Not in 31 years. And when I got my license, she sat me down and told me this whole story start to finish. And at the end, she gave me one piece of advice, which I'll pass on to you. She said, if somebody at a rest stop is making you feel safe, ask yourself why they're working at it. 3 rest areas. A voice on a radio. A man with jumper cables. A phone call to nobody. Not one of them laid a hand on anybody. Every single one of them was patient and polite and completely ordinary. That's what a rest area is. 8 minutes of your life in a place you'll never think about again. Somebody's there every night. If you've got a story like this, put it in the comments. I read every one. This has been The Dread Hour.